So we finally got our first look at The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom gameplay, and in that gameplay we've seen at least 4 brand new abilities that Link's going to bring to Tears of the Kingdom. Now of course in Breath of the Wild we had a bunch of different kinds of abilities, right, with the stasis and the all these different kinds of abilities that people found such insanely creative ways to use. Obviously we've seen people using a variety of different abilities to freeze an object and then slash it a bunch to build kinetic energy, jump on top of it, and then once it unfreezes, they'd go flying through the air and all different kinds of crazy stuff that was just so phenomenal. Now with Tears of the Kingdom, these brand new abilities are going to open the door for so many new possibilities of just player creativity and how you approach the game and how everybody's going to approach the game differently. Now if I couldn't even imagine that it would have been possible for them to deepen the mechanics of this sort of realm of things, right? The whole idea of giving players these tools to be super creative. I mean, with Breath of the Wild, everybody's playthrough was completely different, and it seems like Tears of the Kingdom is even deepening that even further. So we're going to talk about the 4 new abilities that Link has in Tears of the Kingdom that we've seen in the gameplay with Mr. Aonuma, and discuss that a little bit and let you guys know what you can expect, hopefully, from these different abilities, what we do know, and maybe a little bit of speculation thrown in there as well. So if you do enjoy this one, stick around for more. We're going to be covering a lot of Tears of the Kingdom, obviously leading up to launch, and in post-launch, Lord willing, all goes as planned. So it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's jump straight into this. Number 1, the first one that they showed off was this one called Recall. Now, recall is actually the ability to rewind. It's like a rewind feature, right? It's like kind of manipulating time in a way, but for like certain objects. So for example, there was a stone that fell from the sky, right? And so what one of the ways that you can get to the sky islands, as they called them, is that you would jump on this stone and you would use this recall feature, which would cause this stone basically to rewind, right? It's you're rewinding time, and so it recalls the stone from where it came from, which of course was the sky. And so once you get up there, then you can kind of paraglide over to some of the islands and that are floating in the sky, and it's really, really cool. Now with recall, we actually seen a little bit of this usage in some of the trailers as well. So for example, if you remember one of the first trailers that was still called the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, there was one scene where there was like this big kind of spiky ball that was rolling down a hill, and Link basically recalled it, right? So you had this kind of shot where Link was doing something with it, and you've seen that it basically went backwards in time and it squished a bunch of enemies that were in the path. So that's another example of recall that we were able to see in a different trailer. Again, there's a couple different examples like that, so you can kind of imagine what you're going to be able to do with this ability in the world. Again, there's going to be a variety of different items that are going to move that you're going to be able to then recall and kind of move backwards in time. And I can only imagine this is going to be used in if there's shrines, again, might be used in some pretty creative ways there, as well as stuff like if we get some actual dungeons, or even if there's kind of like Divine Beast style again, which I really hope they're actual traditional dungeons, but as a different topic. Whatever the kind of dungeons they present to us, if we have some kind of puzzles in there that's going to use this feature, that you're just going to have to think outside of the box. So again, recall, really cool. You get to basically rewind objects that have moved from point A to point B to move them back from point B back to point A. Pretty cool feature, pretty cool ability. All right, so for the second one that they showed off, it was this new ability called Fuse. Now, Fuse is pretty phenomenal, man. When I seen this, I was really excited. So it starts off Mr. Aonuma with a little tree branch, and he breaks tree branch, and he gets another one. He's like, how can we make this a little bit better? Well, he gets the tree branch, he finds a random boulder, which by the way is huge. All of a sudden it shrinks when he does this, which is kind of funny, but he basically takes a stick and he takes a boulder and he fuses them together. So now he has a stick which acts as a handle, and the boulder at the tip of it which acts kind of like a hammer, and he has basically like a makeshift hammer, which is really cool. And he has this whole new kind of weapon that he basically crafted, he fused together. There's other kind of elements too where you can fuse other kinds of different items together to create all kinds of various weaponry and different things like that. But what was even more interesting about that is, how like in Breath of the Wild, you drop certain enemies, you'd kill them, and they would drop certain, kind of items, right? Like, what are those enemies called? The choo-choos or whatever. They would have like choo-choo jellies or whatever. Some of them are ice, some of them are fire, etc. You can take those jellies and you can fuse it to an arrow and turn it into that kind of arrow. So for example, you take a fire choo-choo jelly or whatever, you fuse it to your arrow, and all of a sudden you got a fire arrow, or ice for, you know, an ice arrow. But what's even crazier is you can take one of those I forgot what they're called right now, but I think it's like the bats, right? They drop these eyeballs. You take those eyeballs, you fuse the eyeball to the arrow, and all of a sudden it becomes like a homing arrow, where it's like, if you know, you don't even have to shoot really at the enemy. If you just shoot kind of in a general area, it's just going to track the enemy and go straight to it, which is pretty cool. We did actually see that in a previous trailer as well, and we had mentioned, hey, you know, something up with these arrows. Little did we know that these are arrows that you can actually fuse with just an arrow and an eyeball. And so the idea here is, how many things can we really fuse together? I mean, I can just imagine that the possibilities are endless. You take all the variety of different combinations of items in the game, right? Different kinds of things, like, you know, all the different boulders and the branches and the arrows and all the enemy stuff, you know, the items that enemies drop, and all these different things. And there must be hundreds upon, if not thousands, of, you know, combinations of items. So it's going to be really cool to see what players come up with in you know, that kind of side of things, and what can we actually create and what can we do. And just even thinking outside of the box even further, it's going to be phenomenal. But let me know in the comment section below, what is something that you would think of, at least off the top of your head, to try fusing, at least from, you know, stuff that you've seen in Breath of the Wild. What are a couple different items that you would want to try fusing in Tears of the Kingdom, and what do you think they would do? All right, moving on from that, we got number 3, which is Ultrahand. Now, Ultrahand is kind of like Fuse, but it works a little bit differently. Fuse is more like, you know, you take two different items, you stick them together, it creates a different kind of item. Ultrahand is more like you're sticking items together to create something, not to necessarily create a new item. Like, you're not fusing it together, but you're more like sticking it together. For example, in this example that they, you know, Mr. Aonuma gave, he took 3 different logs and he stuck them together, and all of a sudden now he has a makeshift raft, right? And then he stuck a couple fans on the raft as well, and now you have a raft that can actually propel itself forward, right? And then, you know, furthermore, he also noted that we've seen different kinds of vehicles in the trailers for Tears of the Kingdom, and a lot of these, well, not a lot of these, all of these vehicles were actually, they're all things that you make. They're not anything that you're going to find in the game per se. They're all things that you actually have to craft yourself, right? So, you know, we've seen kind of like this, like, kind of huge cart of some sort, you know, kind of going through the fields of Hyrule, right? That's something that you're going to be able to craft, finding different items, right? Using this thing. You've seen kind of like a hot air balloon sort of style thing, right? Again, that's something that you're going to be able to craft using this new ability called Ultrahand, right? So Ultrahand, again, it gives you the ability to stick a bunch of different things together in a very creative way to create kind of different things like vehicles and, you know, different kind of objects that are going to be useful for you in that sense. Not necessarily weapons, like fusing is, you know, you're kind of creating weaponry mostly. But again, Ultrahand is in that kind of realm of things, but it works slightly different. So again, this is going to add a lot of different kind of, you know, depth to the game, where you can just create all kinds of different things with Ultrahand and all kinds of different vehicles, things like that. It's going to be really, really cool, really exciting stuff. All right, guys. So finally, the 4th one that we've seen in this gameplay is really exciting to me, and that's called Ascend. Now, you might be wondering, why are you so excited about this one? Well, let me explain how it works first, and you'll maybe catch on. So Ascend works where you use it when you're inside of some kind of area that has a ceiling, right? If you have a ceiling above you, something above you, then in most circumstances, they did say some restrictions will apply. I don't know what that means. I don't know which, you know, areas would, you know, what kind of circumstances or scenarios you'd be restricted from this. But that said, it's for most kind of situations, you're going to be able to use this. And so if there's a ceiling above you, you use Ascend, and basically it kind of sucks Link up to the ceiling, and then he goes right through the ceiling and he ends up on top of whatever it is, right? So, you know, for example, if you're inside of a building, you want to get to the roof of the building, well, you just kind of use Ascend, and you know, sucks you through the ceiling and you're on the roof, right? Or he gave one example, you're stuck inside of a cage or something, so, you know, you got to think outside the box. How do I get out of here? Oh, I can use my ability Ascend to just kind of go through the ceiling of the cage if, you know, you're stuck inside of some kind of cage. But the crazy cool thing that I thought of that they did show off in this gameplay, they did show it, was that if you go inside of a cave, cave, and you know, there's a cliff, but this cliff has a cave in it, and instead of climbing up this big cliff using all your stamina, you just go inside of the cave. The cave has a ceiling naturally. You use ascend inside of the cave. It sucks you up to the ceiling. You go through the kind of top of it, and you end up on top of the cliff, you know, saving you a bunch of time, saving you, you know, the need to waste a bunch of stamina climbing up, you know, this kind of mountain and whatnot. Really cool, really useful. There's going to be so many different, you know, possibilities of just kind of, you know, shortcuts and just kind of, you know, maybe, like I said, getting through certain kind of puzzles and different things like that using this ability. So again, with all these different abilities, you're going to really have to think outside of the box, and I'm sure they're going to be using these in things like, if there's more shrines or dungeons or anything like that, you're going to have to use it to progress in the game, and it's going to be really exciting, just a lot of fun. I can't wait to try it out. Well, guys, that's it. Those are the brand new abilities that we've seen in the presentation with Mr. Aonuma, the gameplay presentation. Again, there may be more abilities yet. I don't know. These are just the ones they showed off. They didn't really say much else beyond that, but we got at least 4 new ones that we've seen. And again, this seems to be all tethered to Link's, you know, new hand, whatever's going on there. We're going to find out exactly with the story in Tears of the Kingdom, but pretty cool abilities, pretty cool stuff. And like I said, it's going to add a lot of depth and just a lot of excitement to the game. That's just gonna, you know, add so many more possibilities that I can't wait to see how, you know, personally, I'm gonna figure how to, you know, kind of navigate through this world, and also to see what other people come up with and different things like that. It should be really exciting. So let me know what you think of these brand new abilities down in the comments below. Again, if you're new around here, be sure to stick around, because Lord willing, all goes as planned. We're gonna be playing through Tears of the Kingdom. Gonna have a bunch of content for you guys, guides, walkthroughs, let's plays. I mean, everything. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I cannot wait, and I hope you guys are excited for that. So stick around for more, and I'll see you guys soon in another one. Till then, game on. I'll catch you guys later.